What happens is, for most people, the majority of these baby boomers that have these small businesses, they don't own a company. A company sort of being like a separate entity that can run on its own. The legal definition of a company would be like its own legal entity that has its own tax code, all that. And so in using that frame of reference, a company sort of can run on its own. It's separate from you. Its identity is separate from you as the founder. But the founder is more like a business where you run that. And so let's talk about the first stage. And this is where most people are. And I want to show you the 5 exits. So the first stage is you're a worker. You're a worker in the business, and typically you're a technician. So what do I mean by a technician? Well, let's say that you have a job as a baker or a dog groomer, or you fix cars. And you're like, man, I'm sick of working at this auto mechanic place and making my boss, the owner, all this money. I'm going to go start my own mechanic shop. Or I'm going to go start my own bakery. I'm going to go start my own dog grooming business. So you leave the dog groomer to go start your own dog grooming business, your own massage business, or whatever it may be. And you end up working in the business as a technician. I used to groom dogs for this other company. Now I groom dogs for my company. I used to repair cars for this mechanic shop. Now I repair cars, but for my own mechanic shop. So you're the technician. You're in the job. You're doing the role. Now, typically, this would be self-employed small business. Maybe you have somebody in there doing the books for you and answering the phone. Maybe someone's even trying to do some sort of ads for you, things like that. But at the end of the day, it's you doing the job, doing the work. You're the technician. And so at this stage, you have a business. I mean, there's a company, there's a business there. There's employees there. There's business coming through, but you're in that role. You're in the business. Now, you could, at this point, you could start to hire other technicians, but the first exit is to leave this role, to exit the worker role, exit the line. And so how do we do that? Well, what we want to do is we want to be able to hire other technicians to take our role. Now, one of the benefits is that, or one of the things that we should think about sometimes is starting businesses that we're not a technician in. So it might be better for the auto mechanic to go set up a dog grooming business and a dog groomer to set up an auto mechanic business. The reason why is a dog groomer doesn't know how to fix a car. So the dog groomer would never go into that technician role. Vice versa, the auto technician would never start up a dog grooming business. They would be forced to go hire someone to work in that role. But let's assume that you're in that role. So we want to hire other technicians. We want to move from being a worker to a manager. This is exit number 1. Exit the line, going from worker to manager. We need to make sure that we're delegating and not relegating, meaning we're saying this is how this role is done. This is the perfect recipe for the bread. This is exactly how I groom this dog, and this is your new plan to follow, your standard operating procedure. You don't want to relegate it like, hey, I'm just going to hire someone and hopefully they do as good of a job as me. In order to do that, you have to have very well documented systems. And so if you're currently in this role, begin documenting what it is that you're doing. Here's what I say when I answer the phone. Here's how I make a perfect cup of coffee. Here's how I treat my customer. Here's how I do a review or whatever it is. Start to document these processes. That way, when you hire somebody else, then you can delegate using that well-documented systems. The other thing that you're going to need to be doing is starting to establish a very compelling culture. As you start to grow the business, you need to be able to attract the right people to you, and you have to be able to coach them as a manager. Again, you're going from the doing, in the trenches doing the work, to delegating. All right, that's exit number 1. Exit number 2 then is now I've moved from the technician in the line. I'm now a manager. And so now I'm starting to work on the business. Instead of in the business doing the work, I'm able to work on the business, which now allows me to see things at a higher level and start to think more about how do we set policies to handle customer service, or how do we do the marketing, how do we recruit staff and things like that. You've moved out of the business and now on the business. It allows you to now be proactive instead of reactive. You see, when you're in this technician role, it's like, okay, what's under the hood? You pop the hood. Okay, here's the problem. Let me fix it. You're reacting to what you see. You're a dog groomer. Okay, what does this dog have? What does it need? Okay, now I'm reacting to that dog. But as a manager, I can now be proactive. And we can start to think about what it is that we want. What's our ideal client? What's our ideal process, procedure, things like that. A lot of this was highlighted in a book called The E-Myth, which stands for the entrepreneurial myth. Great book. I've read it multiple times. There's a new book called The E-Myth Revisited, sort of like a newer version of the book. I'd highly, highly recommend it. They talk about how the entrepreneurial myth is that most people think that if they can start their own business and become an entrepreneur, then they can be free. But that's a myth, because what they have done is they've just created a job for themselves. Anyway, read the book. He kind of goes more into deep depth and detail into how to do this. But at this level now, if you've exited from the line to the manager, you're now proactive. But from here, we want to now exit the staff and then being a manager, and we want to go to the CEO level, right? We're working on the business, not in it, but we want to get to the next level. We want to go from delegation, being the manager that's now delegating these tasks to these individual workers. Instead of first it was doing, then it was delegation, and now we want to move up to leadership. We want to go from an operator, someone who's operating the business, setting the schedules, paying the payroll, running the marketing. Instead of operating the business, we want to go to a CEO. We want to go from a manager, from an operator to a CEO. We don't want to be just a manager with a title. You see, most of you owning your own businesses have called yourself a CEO, but the reality is you're just a manager with a title. You're still managing the business. You're still managing the marketing team, managing the day-to-day, overseeing the customer service, managing the meetings and things like that. And so now we want to exit the manager and go to the CEO level. All right. Once we're able to do that, now things start to get very interesting. Now we're able to really start to think long-term, or really start to think about other types of the business. We can start to think about other businesses that we could buy or merge with or partner with. For example, you're a bakery. Maybe you want to, maybe you only bake bread. Well, maybe you want to acquire another bakery that specializes in pastries, for example. Maybe you're a dog groomer, and now you want to partner or you want to buy a dog training business, or you want to launch a line of dog grooming or dog training products, and maybe you're able to buy that. So now from the CEO lens, now you're way up above, and you can start to think strategically about the business, because you're not bogged down with the technical work of doing the job, nor are you even bogged down with the management of that.